Gentlemen, I hope that you all are having a good time here already. A very warm and a heartfelt welcome to all of you present here as we begin the day 2 of BIRC, the exhibition for which we all have been waiting for so long. It is truly wonderful to see the continued enthusiasm as we move forward with our shared vision of strengthening India's role in the global agri and food ecosystem. Can we have a huge round of applause for ourselves, ladies and gentlemen, before we commence the festivities? First and foremost, thank you so much for taking the time out from your heavy schedules and marking this day with your presence. It means a lot for all of us. Thank you so very much for being here. To start the day, we have our first session titled as Quality Certification and Food Safety, ladies and gentlemen. And it is my honor to tell you all that in today's world, we are ensuring quality and safety. This is not just the compliance, rather it is about building trust, enhancing competitiveness and opening doors to the global markets. And we are joined by the distinguished panel of speakers, the experts who will be sharing their perspective on standards, certifications and practices that shape the future of food industry. This is truly going to be a very insightful discussion, ladies and gentlemen. One more time, a very, very heartfelt and a cheerful welcome to each one of you present here. My name is Varsha Singh. Glad to be a host for this wonderful day, which is the day 2 of BIRC. As I told you earlier that the topic on which the first session is going to be is the quality certification and food safety. And to moderate this one-of-a-kind session, we have the moderator as a personality who is a senior journalist at Bloomberg News in New Delhi, specializing in agriculture, commodities, and environmental markets. His reporting focuses on global agricultural trade shows, trade flows, food system policies, and climate impacts on commodity production, providing in-depth coverage of India's agri-economy and export landscapes. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Mr. Prateek Parija. He's a journalist at Bloomberg News. Can we have a round of applause, everybody? So, joining us as our esteemed chairperson, we have a personality who is the director of the Basmati Export Development Foundation, BEDF, under the Agricultural and Processed Food Products Exports Development Authority, APIDA, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Mr. Tarun Bajaj. Can we have a round of applause? Moving on, as our esteemed speaker, we have the personality who leads certification operations at SGS India, managing food safety and management system certification programs across industries. With extensive experience in quality assurance and audit management, he has overseen certification processes for major schemes including ISO 22000, HACCP and FSSC 22,000. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Soumik Mondal, Head Certification, SGS India Private Limited. Can we have a round of applause for the gentleman? Last but not the least, we have the kind and wise presence of a lady who is a project manager, schemes at QCI, overseeing the design and implementation of national quality and conformity assessment schemes. She contributes to quality infrastructure strengthening, scheme development and audit frameworks across the sectors. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to welcome Dr. Priyanka Sarkar, Project Manager at Schemes Quality Council of India. Can we have a round of applause? Before moving further, it is my honor to give my mic to the chairperson for this esteemed session, ladies and gentlemen. And he is the one and the only Mr. Tarun Bajaj. Sir, shall we have you on the podium, please? Can we have a round of applause, everybody, as he makes his way? Sir.
Thank you, Varsha. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Well, we are going to talk for 1 hour on quality. And I don't think it needs further introduction. When we say quality, it means quality, and there cannot be no substitute of the word quality and of the actual what we mean by quality. See, in your household, you order an item online. You particularly see visually video and then you order it. And when you actually get it, then sar pakad lete hain. What is, I ordered something else and on video it appeared to be something else and now actually it has come as different, my money is wasted. So what will happen? You will either return it back, look for an opportunity, or you will never buy it again. More even, you will not like to visit that website again. So when you want somebody to visit again, to buy again, you need to have quality. Visually, if you see a product which comes to you, visually it's appealing, packaging is very good, you get attracted. You want that product, that's why you have purchased it or you liked it. The moment you consume it, if it is not as per the quality or value for money, you will not repeat it. So the buzzword is, if we want to enter the market, penetrate the market, and if we want to increase our share and remain in the market, we have to take care of our quality. Now this quality which is there in our personal life is also equally applicable to international front. When we want to export item, we have to meet the quality requirements of the international community of the country where we are exporting the produce. Now, when we talk of quality standards, then internationally there are standards like Codex. Now that Codex standard is when around 170 countries they sit together, they decide and make the standards of it. And most of them they align, including India. We align to those standards because they have been, all the panel, everybody has put them, and there it is decided through consensus. And then you decide a standards, and on that standards you adopt, and accordingly you make your standards and the Codex standards. So most of the countries are importing as per Codex standards. In our country, Food Safety Authority is the main regulatory body, and most of the standards are aligned to Codex standards or in an attempt to align to Codex standards. But there are countries like European Union, they have Codex plus standards. Of course, there is a debate on this. Why should they have a Codex standard when they are part of the decision making in Codex committee? Why they have their own standards? But they have, when it was decided in WTO, it was decided that a country is given liberty to decide, to alter, to amend as per their country's need. So they take that clause and make standards which are Codex plus very stringent standards. Food safety standards for European Union are mostly very stringent, especially when it comes to MRL levels of molecules. Many of the MRL levels of, say if Codex says 0.5, they will be having 0.1 or a level of default. So this kind of a stringent quality parameters they have it. There are also private standards. Many of the retail chains, the buyers, they have made their own private standards. BIRC and other standards, they have made it. They say these are our standards. If you want to send our produce to our supermarket, Walmart and all these supermarkets, then you have to meet these parameters. They are private standards. Of course, there is again a debate, because private standards, why you have a private standards when there are, they say no, we want to have our own because we are selling and we want credibility and we want to assurance to the customer that if you buy from this retail chain, from that shelf, it meets particular quality, and that's why they have their own standards and one has to meet them. This practice is becoming a challenge because you have plethora of private standards nowadays. And one has to meet, if somebody says I have to go, say I have a Codex, no, I have my own standards. You have to meet Codex, good, but still you have to meet my standards. So when these standards are important, the quality is important, the challenge is meeting the stringent quality levels is very critical. Including the challenge is the cost of compliance, because each parameter adds to your cost. Each parameter leads to cost enhancement. And when there is cost enhancement, you are competing in the international world. Each cost matters. Buyer is not going to pay you more money. You have to cut short your costing if you want to compete with the competitor. And these parameters, these compliance cost, that adds to your cost, and then it becomes a challenge for most of us. In our country, when we say, unfortunately, even as on date, of course it is changing, the scenario is changing, but still we have domestic standards and export standards. It is not defined, but it is said export challenge, domestic challenge. A product which is rejected on MRL levels or on aflatoxin level is safely sold in India, because there are issues, we all consume it and they are come to the market. I was talking to our moderator, Pratik was mentioning that mango, it is ripened, they use a particular kind of a chemical which is banned, but it is being used, and we are eating mangoes with that. Of course, the pattern is changing now, slowly we are moving towards there. The ideal situation is, you know, as per WTO, I hope everybody knows that if we have a domestic standards, the same have to be importing standards. We cannot have different standards for importers. We cannot say for domestic standards these are X, and for what product we are importing are Y. No. They have to be same standards. If they are domestic standard, the importing have to be same. The exporting standards are different, because there we have to meet the requirement of importing country. They have their own standards. The ideal situation is when export, import and domestic standards are aligned. And that is an ideal situation world over. Of course, that's a challenge of this. Before I conclude, I would like to also highlight, besides quality standard, the equally important is labeling. Most of the rejections, many of the rejections come due to label also. We are not able to meet the particular labeling requirement of importing country, and they are rejected. So if you see in our country also, we have a particular label requirement, because we have a huge vegetarian population. There is a requirement, you have to have a green dot, red dot. Now this is a label requirement of India. And if they are not able to meet that requirement, that will not be accepted in our country and will be rejected. So you have maybe having a very good quality produce. You may be giving at very competitive price. If your labeling requirement is not meeting the importing country, again it will be rejected. So equally important is the labeling requirements. So we have to now, when we export, we have to take care of all these quality standards, and then only we can export, remain in the market, and earn our goodwill. Many of the brands, you go and you buy a particular brand, you are assured that that particular brand is assuring a quality. If not, there is a redressal system, that if not fit, you can go back to them, your product is not good, there is a redressal mechanism within that brand which they are establishing. So that's where the brand is there. You say you establish your own brand. So we also suggest our exporters that go for establish your brand. When you have a brand, then there are premium and there are other advantages. And when you have a brand, of course, you are bound to have your quality. Otherwise, your brand will be not purchased or bought by the buyers anywhere in this. So with this, we have a very eminent panelist today, and I hope Pratik will be moderating the session very well. And let's talk more about this, the quality. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bajaj. You started really well. I mean, you answered all my questions, so I'm like short of questions. But I'll just start with Mr. Bajaj. The question is, why is food safety and certification so critical now in terms of exports as well as domestic products? For Mr. Bajaj. Yeah. Why is food safety and certification so critical now, especially for exports? I mean, rice exports. I mean, this is a rice conference. We can talk about rice as well as other food products.
So anything which is consumed by the human being, it has to have a food safety without any compromise on that, because it is being consumed by the human being. Why we consume it? We consume it for nutrition, we consume it for living, and that's why it has to meet the food safety, which is not cannot be compromised. So food safety is important, and accordingly our food safety standards we have, and that's why we require food safety standards to be met. What will happen? Somebody will say, this is a food safety standard, I think this standard is okay. X will say this standard, Y will say this standard. So you need a body, a regulatory body, panel of scientists who can decide science based on the basis of risk assessment. Look, these are the parameters, these are the standards we think are food safety standards. And these food safety are standard, and they keep on changing, if I tell you. They are dynamic standards. Keeping periodically, you keep on changing the standards also. So they are science-based, risk assessment basis. They check, and then you say these are the food safety standards, and they have to have met, and they are good for human consumption. Importing country have their own requirement. All importing countries, sovereign country, they have their own requirement, and we want our produce to enter their territory. Of course, we have to meet their requirement. We cannot say, no, in my requirement is this, so in my country I am able to sell it, why can't I sell it in your country? My country has my requirement, so you have to meet these country requirements. So most of I said, Codex helps in at least aligning, but when it comes to labeling requirement and other food safety, not necessarily a food safety requirements, most of the countries have their own peculiar requirements, and one has to meet it. So that's why when we want to export, they are equally important. Food safety, we have to meet the importing country, and even in the domestic market we have to take care, because human health is utmost.
Thank you, sir. The next question is for Dr. Priyanka Sarkar. How can India's food safety and certification systems be strengthened further? I mean, do you see any shortfalls, or how can these systems be sort of strengthened?
So first thing is that I'll just add up to Tarun sir also, where sir said that we have to be country specific when we are importing or exporting any of the produce. So we have to know, even the exporters and even the certification bodies which are there in the market should know what exactly are the standard requirements. Secondly, we also as a scheme owners, since coming from a Quality Council of India, we are the scheme owners. Example, Global Gap is there. So we have to benchmark with our own Indian standards with the global standards, so that whenever an exporter is exporting any produce, so he should not face any hassle. Any of the sir, I'll just add up Tarun sir, because even we were discussing with Somik sir also back there, that the MRL levels, labeling requirement, and what are the process they have followed or not as per this requirement, standard requirement of the exporting country. So that is very important. And to monitor them, we as a QCI, as sir has mentioned about the regulators, so regulators have to implement those standards, so we have to have monitor a close look upon the certification bodies, how these certification bodies are competent enough to actually audit the exporters, that how stringently they are following the standard requirements of the country specific produce which they are exporting. So that is one part where as a scheme owner, as a accreditation board, we have to take care of the certification bodies, because they are the third party agencies. They have to be very much stringent about their requirements, which they have to follow it, because they are the implementing agencies of the standards. So I think that is more than, yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. The next question is for Mr. Mondal. Mr. Mondal actually works for a company that certifies factories and processes, those that export to other countries. So, Mr. Mondal, if you could tell us that how can certification be made more farmer friendly and affordable? I know it's very expensive, so that some companies, like small companies, probably don't go for that. But I mean, I'm sure exporters do that. But how can the process be made simpler and cheaper?
Very good question. The point here, we have got a regulator here. We have got also the standard owners who makes the standard, and we have the certification bodies. So when regulators are developing a standard, for example, FSSAI, which has been started I think 2006, and the journey started, and they took the time and issued the first regulation, FSSAI regulation, in 2011. And that regulation is meeting the requirement of the codex, which Tarun sir was telling. The codex became a basic guide, but we developed our standard in India. That standard has helped us to make a journey in the last 14 years, and we have come to a position where we can say this is Indian product. This product has got a benchmark as per the FSSAI regulation, and this product is sold in Indian market as per the FSSAI regulation. So there is a benchmark process has started. Now, when somebody wants to go for a certification, why they want a certificate? They got a voluntary recognition. This voluntary recognition is against a particular standard. It is not that certification body create a standard. There's a scheme owner. Like we have got a scheme owner like APEDA, they have developed NPOP standard for the organic, like INDIGAP, like India HACCP, like India GHP. All the standards are developed by the QCI. So these are the people who develop the standard. Now this standard, when somebody has to follow this standard, means they have to demonstrate they're complying with the requirement. As a certification body, we are recognized by NABCB, the local accreditation body in India, and we are going to do the audit against that requirement. So it is something somebody wants to recognize their system of food safety. They have to demonstrate they are complying with that requirement of the standard which has been prepared by APEDA or QCI. So this standard they have to demonstrate they are managing. We always say, don't demonstrate your day only on the day of the audit. The requirement is fulfilled. Maintain the certification throughout the 365 days. That sort of assurance will be reflected once somebody is demonstrating, I am certified for ISO standard, or I am certified for the HACCP standard of India. So all these things giving a assurance. That's what is the journey of the brand development. That's what Sir was telling at one point. So for that, definitely there will be some sort of a commitment, and for that commitment they might have to do some expenses to maintain that standard. We are not asking to spend money just like that, but to develop that, to maintain the GHP, to maintain the food safety requirement, they have to do certain FSSAI regulation testing. Those things are the basic requirement. So it is not the standard or the CB, certification body, is asking to spend money. It is to maintain the process, they have to do some expenses. So that thing we need to understand. But sometimes people say, what price will increase? That is the next question come. It is you are making your brand value in the market. To make the brand in the domestic market or make the brand in the international market, you have to maintain certain standard level into your factory, into your quality management system, and for that the money should be spent. And now there is a lot of subsidies are coming also. Ministry of Food Processing is giving a lot of subsidies to develop that. And I think there is a lot of support has come from the Ministry of Food Processing also to have a HACCP system implementation or some basic laboratory structure, infrastructure purpose. So there is a lot of supports are also coming. So there is a progress in this, in the country I can see throughout.
Thank you, sir. Just the next question for you only is, what are the challenges you face when you go and certify a factory or facility, I mean, and the process?
Okay, that's a very good point. What challenges? Now we have got a standard in India. We have got intention of the people to implement that standard in the facility. They are coming and they are getting the audit done. Now, one point we understand, some level, there should be a commitment throughout the organization. That commitment is somewhere we find we miss out. In the recent Codex guidelines, that general principle for the food hygiene, one point has been discussed, food safety culture. And that has been resonated throughout the international standards. Sir was referring to the BRC or IFS or SQF. We look for that food safety culture. It's a top-down approach. It is not the QC manager or the factory manager are the only responsible for that. When we go for the audit, I find that food safety culture is still at a primitive level at some of the companies. I'm not talking everybody, but there are progress because that is the way we find the issues and we tell them why everybody is not committed enough. Why everybody is not taking that ownership. Culture, we always say the culture is something when nobody is observing, you are doing the same job. We are delivering the same product, same quality. That food safety culture is not yet grown in all our organization. We only prepare for the day of the audit and demonstrate that we are ready. So then it becomes a gap. So that is one of the challenges I am finding. Second challenge is what I am finding is when somebody is in the export market, sir was talking about the export market, I am finding many companies, QC people or their management are not well aware what are the international regulatory changes are coming, the MRL level changes are coming. Though there are a lot of platforms, like if they are getting any scheme owner certification, they will be going to that particular platform, they can update themselves, but I don't see the people are keep themselves updated. In the back room, I was just telling you also that some of the consignments suddenly get rejected in the market because of some MRL label. And that particular MRL label rejection, that value has come down in the global market, like the MRL level, it is a 0.01, but we have sent with a compliance the 0.03, finally the consignment is detained and it is coming back. So that sort of regulatory updation is not there into the factory level, into the company level, then it becomes a challenge. So these are the two challenges. One is the awareness throughout the company. Second is updation of the regulatory standard within the company. These are the two challenges I can highlight here.
Okay. Thank you, sir. The next question is for Mr. Bajaj. It's regarding regulations in India. So as a country, how well aligned are we with the global norms? Are we well aligned with the global norms as far as standards are concerned?
Very well aligned, I tell you. Now, if we are not aligned, how can we export 52 billion US dollars to the world? 170 countries we are exporting. We are among the top 10 countries in the world. We are holding 7th rank. So if we are not aligned to the world, how can we have exported to this much volume? And this is after taking care of our own population. So we are aligned. Rather, the challenges are coming from the importing country. As I mentioned, the European Union has Codex Plus standards. And most of them, not necessarily science-based or risk-based, they have level of default of a molecule because of the technical reasons. That this particular molecule is not registered in our country, that's why we are making it 0.01 level of default. And the machines are so precise, the precision nowadays is there. I was telling Prateek backstage that earlier if they were able to detect 0.1, now they are able to detect 0.01 and even 0.001. So that kind of a precision machines have. So they say level of default and they are able to detect it and they say it is rejected. So we are now, our systems, as far as exports are concerned, I'm talking. As far as exports, our systems are well aligned. Most of our units who are exporting are ISO 22000, which has HACCP and ISO combined standards, and they meet, these are international accepted standards, food safety standards. So most of the units have these standards. They are able to meet. Of course, improvement keeps on coming. Even some units are having perfect, some units are still little less, but more or less they are aligned and we are able to meet the importing country requirements. It depends which country we are exporting. Now we are saying, as I mentioned initially also, that most of the rejections are now coming, other than food safety, it is the labeling requirement. Because of the label, that we are not able to meet the label requirement of a particular country. Say if they wanted a particular font to be used, particular color to be used, or in a particular format to be used, and these are the parameters. Suppose nuts are there and you have to mention nuts, allergen alert is not there. So these kind of parameters, if they not mentioned on the label, we get rejection. So they are something we tell our exporters that get your label approved before you export to the importing country. Send your label to the importer that you get an approved from your regulatory bodies, or they have their own consultants, experts in that country. You get the label approved and then ship your produce to that country.
Is it ignorance or something else like?
No, not necessary ignorance. As he mentioned, sometimes, you see, they keep on changing. Yesterday there was a law, and today, or maybe some days, such a dynamic improvement is coming that it keeps on changing and it gets oversight. So sometimes it is, yes, you're right, it is oversight. Sometimes it is not aware of it, or sometimes it is negligence also. So that oversight and all that, one has to be extra careful before them, because rejection is huge cost and loss to the reputation also.
So one follow-up question. How are global trade dynamics changing India's approach to food safety?
Yes. Now, because you see example, very good, I'll just start with the example. You see, we have been eating bananas. Earlier we used to eat bananas with the black spot in that, and in our childhood time they used to say chitri ka banana hai, and it used to be good. And we have been eating that bananas, preferred that bananas, but gradually meeting the export standards and the international standards, we realized, no, that is not necessary a right kind of banana. The right kind of a banana is G9 variety, clean, absolutely shaped, and that kind of a banana is there. So this is evolving of the quality systems within our own country. So just one example, I'll say, the more we are meeting the export standards, the more we are also evolving and having our own domestic standards also better. हम अगर दूसरों को अच्छा खिला रहे हैं तो हमें भी तो अच्छा खाना है ना, तो हमें क्यों MRL level वाला खाना खाया जाए? तो we also have to be there. So now, yes, very improvements are coming in our products, but still miles to go before I sleep.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Sarkar, the next question is for you. So what kind of, when you certify like these companies, so what kind of, what are the main food safety issues you sort of, notice? Like, is it pesticide residue, aflatoxin, or contamination? What are the main issues basically, that is sort of threatening the food system?
Okay. So now, being an accreditation board, where we have, sir has already said that we have NABCB, one of the accreditation board who certifies the certification bodies. So now the challenges in food safety, that is one part. So when we see that any certification body is competent to, be as a third party agency to implement, so there are two systems are coming. First is the management system, and second is the process requirement. So in management we have the legal requirements, we have the resources which they have, the resources which are empaneled with them are fully aware or fully trained or not, fully qualified or not. That is one part. And the systems which they are, having, are they fully in place or not, procedural wise also. Process requirement comes when they have to implement the standards in their own systems. So that is one part where they have to be very stringent. Now it comes to the MRL levels and all. So I'll just take one example of any supply chain, for example, from farm to fork. So we'll say that any, like suppose this is the rice. So when it is being exported to countries, they also have to be very specific about the testings. So which test laboratory they have sent their samples, these exporters. So these laboratories are well NABL accredited or EPIDIA accredited or not. you know, the certification body has to be very much particular about the agreements which they are making with the laboratories, or either the laboratories are being, you know, accredited by any accreditation board or not. So these type of things are also very important to note, because these are the main thing where, you know, whatever MRL levels or test reports you are getting, that should not get stuck because of this, you know, operational challenges inside the country itself. So if those can be, you know, taken care by the certification body, and during the, you know, assessments when the accreditation board comes, then these challenges can be overcome. So that is one part which we see it, where, you know, it can be taken care.
Thank you, ma'am. The next question is for Mr. Bajaj. This is regarding farmers' income. How do consignment rejections impact business and farmer incomes in India?
Consignment,
Can you give us some examples or some anecdotes? You know?
consignment rejections, in fact, affect the exporter primarily. They export because farmer is already paid. Farmer, you have paid to the farmer, you have taken the produce, and when it is exported and rejected, the majority of the burden comes on the exporter itself. It may happen that when he gives reorder, he may not give reorder to it. That may be consequences, but the loss of rejection is exporters. The moment he exports, he gets value, better value, the better value goes to the farmer also. So that way is benefited, but rejection of course is 100%. Most of it is borne by the exporter himself, unless he has a contract farming or some kind of agreement that if there is rejection internationally because of farmer's fault, the MRL is detected or some kind of a thing, then he may pass on to that, but there are limited number of cases in our country as far as farmers are concerned. But most of that rejections are gone by the exporters, and they are facing the brunt. Not only this, it's a quality matter, that's why we're talking rejections, but there are also default on payments. The buyers is not able to make payment, and you're following it, buyer is disappeared, you're not getting the payments. That also burden comes to the exporter itself. They have to bear it.
Thank you, sir. The next question is for Mr. Mondal. What kind of policy gaps do you see as far as food safety is concerned? What is the biggest policy gap? Because you work on the ground, certify factories and units. So what do you see exactly? I mean, is there a big policy gap that can be fixed?
Can you just give what type of policy you are actually covering
No,
here?
food-
Is it
food
a
safety policy, I
Okay,
mean.
fine. So to be very specific, there are so many policies are there. So the food safety policy is one of the commitment of the management. Now somebody is writing a statement of food safety policy of company XYZ. It is a commitment, and that commitment may be given for the consumer, maybe for the customer, maybe for the environment, maybe for the social. Everything can be a part, because today's world, if I say food safety, but if you only food safety is not coming out in the policies, because after sustainable development goals, and on that line, lot of retail chains, like if I say Walmart or Asda, Tesco, all these chains, they also look for the commitment of the companies along with the food safety onto the environment, onto the social front. And for that reason, the commitment label, what is displayed into the policy, that should be actually followed through the process of objective, and then the KPIs, and then they should do the progress. So this is something we closely verify when we go for an audit to see how these objectives are set for the year to reach to the goal of the policy matter. So somewhere we find this is a journey to achieve to the policy, and for that they are making a small objective and growing. So this is a very slow progress. Some of the companies take a very strong targets and try to comply with those requirements for the food safeties. Like one of the policy matter comes like they will be having a zero rejections because of they don't want to protect the consumer of the domestic market or the international market. So that sort of commitment when it is coming, so they have to demonstrate how they are fulfilling those requirements. So it is companies should not put the policy matter only on the paper, but also they should make sure that is actually they are following throughout the commitment level or the journey of the consignment going from the factory to the consumer level. So that journey will be complete, the policy will be fulfilled. Once that is, this commitment is given to the consumer, I am giving you a safe food, that is fulfilled. And also I am giving a commitment, I am not harming the environment, or I am not disturbing the social fabric of the country to do that. So that is also a commitment. So that is something is very important.
I
Adding
think
to
Dr.
that,
Sarkar
I
wants to
think
add.
I'll just add to Sir, where we think now today in the digital world, traceability is one thing where one company should always see that from where he's procuring his material or raw material, from where it is, suppose it's a processing unit, from where he's getting his raw material. So that is also very important down the lane when it is going to the end user. The end user should know that from where he has got his produce. So it be a exporter country, or I'm sitting in US, I should know from which part of India, which state, which farmer group has, I have got my produce from. So that traceability system should be that strong, and I think that again, Sir has said that commitment. So if a company is very much focused into, developing their brand name, then they also have to invest certain, money or finances to specify that what exactly, how their produce are being traceable to, the full chain is being traced. So that is one part where we can also see that how we can develop that. Our exporters and especially the regulators and all those framework developers can come together, and we should have a common platform also along with the exporters also. So yes, so that is one part we can.
What are the measures we can take? Like, can you say 2-3 measures where, we can sort of ensure traceability and digital
Tarun
verification?
sir is, because organic is one thing where tracer system is introduced by FIDA itself, the sir can take this, I think.
So not only organic, even in horticulture, and now we are introducing in agriculture produce also traceability, because most of the countries have started asking about the traceability, where they can, there is a confidence and assurance, credibility is there from farm to the export level that they need traceability. So in organic, she has mentioned we have a complete traceability. And I think we were the first country in the world, India, who introduced web-based traceability in organic. And after that, other countries have started following up. So that web-based traceability is there, where from the farm, even the buyer can check from which farm this produce has come, which levels it has passed, what kind of treatment it has undergone, and everything is traceable through the button and sitting on the computer. So that kind of a web-based traceability, we have it, and that's the way we have assurance and credibility world over. Grapes, we are able to sell. That's an example, because why traceability initially started from the grapes export. In 2006 or so, I think the grapes were, there was some issues with the European Union, and we introduced traceability. Now, even the buyer, by seeing on the computer, can check these grapes have come from which farm, when it was given, what kind of a treatment, what pest laboratory test has been done, all that complete traceability is there. And when there was an issue, and now I think 3,000 crores of exports of only grapes are happening to the world because of this credibility. And that's an answer that quality doesn't go waste. Quality is investment, because it returns, it gives you back in the long run, and quality pays back. That's one of the best examples to show.
And what kind of interventions we made to sort of improve that system? And can we, from grapes, can we sort of use that kind of intervention to sort of, to other crops?
As I said, yes, we have started doing for other crops also. In most of the horticulture crops, we are doing it. In agriculture, even in rice also, we are in the process of introducing. And at least in peanuts, we have introduced from the factory processing unit to the farm gate, to the export level, that we have traceability is fully assured. So slowly we are now reaching to a state where introducing traceability in most of the produce which we are exporting. And gradually time will come when we'll have traceability in all cases.
Okay, thank you, sir. My last question to you, how can agencies such as FSSI and APIDA work together to establish a unified platform for the country?
We are working together for the same reason that any unit who wants to export, first we see you have FSSCI, because that is the first parameter. If they have FSCCI, of course, for exports, FSCCI is not mandatory, but still we see this is an example of unified approach, because we know FSCCI, if they are registered, if they are meeting the FSCCI requirements, that means more or less Codex requirement they are fulfilling, because there is an agency, FSCCI, who is monitored. So we check whether you have FSCCI, so at least one thing is assured, they are meeting a basic quality parameters which are required. Then we go to the importing country requirements and we say, look, these are parameters, but importing country have these special parameters to be fulfilled, and you have to fulfill those parameters. So we are working unified in close coordination and doing our responsibilities in a complementary manner.
Is EIC also on the table?
Yes, EIC also. EIC, EPIDA and food safety are complementing each other as far as exports are concerned. In domestic, we have no role.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mondal, you have any final remarks on food safety in India? How can we improve?
Like mentioned
any concluding
by
remarks?
sir, that we have got a regulatory bodies, and now they are working hand in hand. And if I see the journey of the regulatory bodies, then the laboratories, then the certification bodies, if this can be put it like a TrustNet concept, what just now we were talking, in future I think that will be the intelligent software program, if it is will match all the databases of the laboratories and then certification bodies and the regulatory bodies, then what will happen at any point of time, the exporter or the domestic customer also will be benefited to verify the authenticity of this program. Because today if I see the certification program, we have got our, as a certification body I'm telling, like we have got a program where we have got our own database management. And that is getting linked with the International Accreditation Forum, where my certificate directly get uploaded from SGS platform to the IA platform. Similarly, we have got the inspection team. They have got their own database. They are also inspecting the consignment. Their data also managed. And that is there highlighted into our own platform SGS. So anybody go and can check the authenticity. Now, somebody in a regulatory line is sitting there and they can manage, give us an instruction, okay, you give the access of your platform to us so that this can be matched. And I think the future will be a very beautiful journey for all of us, that we can give the protection to our customer, of our manufacturer, and also to our consumer, that this is a safe food we are delivering to the market. So that can be a journey, maybe the 2047 journey what we have, our government of India started. I think there will be the data security management on all this platform can be matched together. It will be the very big achievement for all of us.
Thank you, sir. The next question is for Dr. Sarkar. How can technology sort of improve India's ability, to sort of increase the capacity, food safety inspection capacity or certification capacity?
Okay, so I'll just say it like that, we do have many colleges especially. So when the students are graduating, taking the, food, in their program, like suppose they are graduating as a food graduate or maybe agriculture graduate. So with that, if we are introducing the cyber security, because nowadays the digital thing is coming up, and we do have many courses where we need to also work on the syllabus, especially. So once it is being done, the second stage when they come, they're taking up these jobs when, they are maybe into the regulation, maybe they would be working for any private agency. So now digital is something where, as Mr. Mandal also have highlighted, that all the agencies are coming together, all the API getting integrated, but sometimes what happens, the cyber threats are also there. If with that, they're also equipped and being, those are trained, those students are being trained, or the resources of the company is being trained for that, then this all thing can come together and, we can reduce the takt time, especially because we also know that technology is something, if you are training somebody and he's or she's also shifting to some other, workplace. So now what happens, somewhere certain things get lagged. But if it is being aligned that everybody, if I'm there in the supply chain, I'm doing some tracenet wala, some profile I have taken, but I'm not there. My work, company's work should not hamper it. So we should have that kind of workforce who are very much into that system. They should know the subject knowledge also, and as per the trend, whatever the digital trends are there, he should know or she should know. The system could be malified also. They should know how it is working. So that all things should be taken care in the first level itself, in the education and the syllabus system itself. So that is one part which we think we have to work together.
Thank you, ma'am. Just one last question for Mr. Bajaj, I mean, sorry, last question. How can exporters be supported to meet global compliance, when they're selling their products overseas, like food products? Across the board, like not rice, everything, because you deal with everything, right?
No, exporters are being supported. First of all, there is a gradually continuous capacity building, which is most important. There is a capacity building for our exporters, for the budding exporters, entrepreneurs, FPCs. All that capacity building programs are regularly going on at various places in India, not necessarily in Delhi. So capacity building programs are going on, and nowadays through VC also, where we keep on updating the exporters. These are the new developments which are taking place, and you keep on doing. So first of all, hand-holding is in terms of capacity building, which we are doing regularly. Then there are financial assistance also. APIDA, the scheme, of course, the new schemes will be coming in 26, but the present schemes, we had financial assistance for exporters if they want to implement food safety management systems, international food safety management systems like ISO, HACCP. We have subsidy for that. If you implement and do it successfully, we give them money. Then there are subsidies of Ministry of Food Processing Industries. In the same manner, they give it. Then, we encourage exporters to have their own laboratories within their own premises. And if they want to buy any equipment, again, we have financial assistance. Ministry of Food Processing also has financial assistance for these equipments which they want to buy for their laboratories. We also have subsidy for the laboratories to upgrade. If they want to upgrade, because they have to meet international standards, and every day the technology is changing, they need more and more new technology, new equipments. So that also we provide assistance, and so that they are able to upgrade to their standards. That kind of support is there to the exporters.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from the patient audience, I can see. Any questions from the audience to the panelists? Yeah. Can someone give a mic to her, please?
Hello. Thank you for the informed panel discussion. It was very insightful. I have one question. When I think about nutrition in India, how do we make sure that the safety standards and the food standards are being met so that the person in India is having on his plate what is a standard quality parameter?
Food Safety Authority is the regulatory authority, when it comes to India. They have a scientific panel, and they have a established SOP. The scientific panel evaluates, and scientific panel also co-opt whosoever experts are there, and on that basis they decide the nutrition. And we have recommendatory dietary dose, all that, whichever our nutrition level is there, that is gradually keeps on changing and updating. Suppose they say vitamin B12 is required this much, they keep on updating as far as required, and that food safety is doing their job well as far as this is concerned.
You want to add something, sir? Yeah.
Just to add one point in that, like when you're asking how the nutritional database, as rightly mentioned by sir, that the FSSAI regulation, the schedules are there. You can definitely find each product basis. They have given the list what should nutrition label should be there for that. Even the labeling, there is a separate section in the schedule which says what type of labeling to be there for each product for the nutritional value. So that is also giving this. So India's regulation has now, I can say oil-informed regulation now, which is having all these things what you require. Like if you buy a packet of fruit juice, the back end you get the nutritional value, that is also fixed by the FSSR regulation. So it is there already.
Any other question?
Sir, sir, this side, right side, your left. I have one question for the panel. You said commercially we are in the top 10 exporters for the rice. So quality-wise,
We're the biggest, sir. Yeah.
so quality-wise, where we stand as compared to the international standards? How come an importer from any of the country blindly buy our rice based on the quality parameters, assuming that we are a top in the quality? Or is there a further scope to improve on the quality standards for rice?
Now, as far as quality standards are concerned, I think they are perfect because we follow Codex standards. So standards or the importing country which we are bound to do it because we have to export to that country. So standards parameter I say is almost static. We need not keep on, if at all, that changes takes place at international level. The more important is how you follow those standards, how you practice those standards, and that is important. We are, as far as rice is concerned, I can tell you, 21 million metric tons of rice we have exported to the world. And I think, if my knowledge is correct, the rejection level is 0.01 or this kind of a rejection level is there. So rejection, and many a times the rejection may be due to label also, not necessary food safety. So 0.01, if I think that kind of a rejection is there, not much we have seen. And so this is itself is indicative that we are meeting parameters. And again, you see, when we say we are the top exporters, how can we top exporters when we are not meeting the requirements? So that is there. But yes, we are facing challenges from the importing countries. They keep on changing their MRL levels. They keep on defining their MRL levels. Sometimes they say X molecule, the MRL level is level of default. Not necessary food safety reasons, not necessary science-based reasons, for technical reasons they do it. Or one particular country said, we face the challenge. They said Codex standard okay, but all molecules are not defined in Codex. So if they are not defined in Codex, we will follow European standards. क्यों भाई? चावल तुम खाते हो, चावल उगाते हम हैं, हमें पता कैसे उगाना है, हमें पता है एग्रोनॉमी प्रैक्टिसेस, आपको खाना है, आप खाते हो 1 किलो चावल रोज का, यूरोपियन यूनियन पूरे 100 ग्राम पूरे हफ्ते में नहीं खाते, तो उनके पैरामीटर्स को कैसे आप ब्लाइंडली फॉलो कर लोगे? हमें पता है कैसे उगाना, आप कह रहे हो इसका 0.0, वो तो टेक्निकल रीजन से कह रहे हैं कि मेरा मॉलिक्यूल यहाँ रजिस्टर नहीं है इसलिए 0.01, नॉट नेसेसरी फूड सेफ्टी, क्यों ब्लाइंडली फॉलो करोगे? सो दैट चैलेंज इज वी फाइट वन विद द कंट्रीज विद, बट स्टिल वी आर एबल टू मैनेज इट एंड we are managing successfully every challenge which is coming, and that's why we are top in the world as far as rice is concerned.
Another question, can you give the mic to the gentleman, please? Yeah.
Hello. Sir, I wanted to ask a small question. We are into manufacturing of boiled rice as well as steamed rice. So I wanted to understand how nutritional qualities are quite different in steamed rice compared to boiled rice, and where can I get proper resources to have understand and the benefits, the differentiation of benefits between boiled rice, steamed rice. If you could share any resources where we can just go look and inform our customers properly.
Yeah, thank you very much. But I think there is defined what parameters of boiled rice, parboiled rice, and also the steamed rice, so that if any nutrition loss is there in that, if not, that kind of a parameters are there, we can share with you after this panel. We can tell you link where you can get all this.
Sure. And one more question, sir. Every year we supply huge quantities of rice in the public distribution system, the FCI, Food Corporation of India. I'm quite confused. Why does government procure so much of extremely polished white rice? As we all know, extremely polished white rice is quite low in nutritional content compared to semi-polished rice or the brown rice, but still the public distribution system that is procured by the government is entirely based on how much more polish you can give to the rice. I'm just confused. Why is it so that the government of India procures so much of white, extremely polished rice?
अच्छा, I'm not an authority to comment on this.
No, I wanted
मैं
to
सिर्फ
nutritional-
अंदाजा लगा सकता हूँ.
Yeah.
Because हमारी food habit ऐसी बन चुकी है ना over a period of time. We like this kind of a particular rice. खाना तो वही है. आप भी देखो कितना ब्राउन राइस खाते हो दिन में, बताना जरा कितना ब्राउन राइस खाते हो आप.
Twice a week.
जबकि न्यूट्रिशन अच्छा है ना उसमें, कितना ब्राउन राइस खाते हो. हमारी एक फूड हैबिट बन चुकी है, तो वी डू इट. बट नाउ फूड सेफ्टी सिस्टम, फूड these authorities, they have added fortified rice into
Yes,
PDS system.
yes.
So nowadays they are adding fortified rice and they are selling it with fortified rice also with this.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah. There is. Can you give the mic to the gentleman, please? Okay, sure. Yeah.
So my question is to Tarun sir and all the regulators in the government department. Sir, there was recently a news that ethanol in hand sanitizer is harmful, and this study is coming from European Union. And to my surprise and to everyone sitting here, ethanol is the major component used in alcohol manufacturing also. So European Union itself has a double standard with respect to the food safety, sir. How can we in India make our consumer more aware of these things and make them understand that not everything which is propagated as food safety standard by the best Western countries is actually food standard, but it could be a trade parameter only, trading standard only. Thank you.
ठीक कहा आपने तो सवाल का जवाब भी दे दिया. सवाल पूछा और जवाब भी दे दिया कि there are standards which food safety authorities have announced, which they have taken care of our Indian standards, Indian conditions, Indian human beings, so they are the right standards. If somebody has the particular thing to be mentioned, not necessarily they are right unless we adapt in under Indian conditions. तो आपने सवाल का जवाब भी खुद दे दिया. Is there?
Hello. Yeah, my question is more on the export quantity right now. I mean the prices. As you all must be aware, like we have a lot of stockpiled from the last, the largest stockpile in the last 4 years. And there's a new crop also coming in. And looking at the present numbers and the present prices, the prices, domestic prices has not come down, whereas the international prices are quite at lower levels. So do you see what corrections the government is taking or the rice mill export organization is taking?
Again, I am not authority to comment on this, please. But Ministry of Consumer Affairs is the right authority. They can comment it. But I tell you, you see, government has certain parameters. They need food buffer stock to buy. At the same time, they have to meet the MSP requirements also. So they have to give MSP because ultimately it is the farmer. Farmer को पैसा नहीं मिलेगा तो क्यों उगाएगा वो? So they have given MSP to the farmers, and at the same time we need a buffer also. And we have seen that many teams we need more buffer plus, which government is taking care because they think at the macro level. So they have to meet the MSP requirement, and then they have a buffer also. So keeping that in mind, they are buying it, and plus they have assurance to the farmers. They have grown because they know they will be able to sell it at MSP level, and if not MSP level. Now, example I give you, basmati rice. Now that is not an MSP level. Now the basmati rice is sold between the farmer and the exporters. Direct deal is there. So they get there is government interference is hardly any there. So that kind of a system is there where this kind of system. Their buffer also may be limited to an extent because that doesn't go in the public distribution system. So that is kind of a other there, but where human consumers are involved, public at large is involved, they have a system and buffer system is maintained. Nowadays they are making buffer plus, but they keep on uploading buffer plus also. That's a macro level policy.
And what is that numbers like in terms of buffers? What is the quantity they should keep on regular basis? Is there any some comment that you can mention on that?
I cannot comment on this. As I said, they have their that is
own mechanism.
At a macro level, at a country level, which is there. Country also have to think that they have to give not only to our own citizens, but they also know that there are countries who are food security requirements is there, and the government has commitment to even meet to those countries' requirements also. For that also they need buffer. So country is thinking, it's a macro level thinking. I cannot comment what is number and why that number, not an authority on that.
One last question. And do you see the export prices, rebounds in the couple of the months?
We do expect.
Okay.
Because there is a stress internationally as far as prices are concerned, because we feel there is huge supply side. World over there is huge supply. There are countries like Indonesia, they are not buying presently. They also have their own production, because Indonesia is, they buy, but in 1 year they have their own production and next year they buy. This kind of a cycle they have it. This year they are not buying it, but we are expecting from Philippines in the next year to come, and we hope these prices will improve once we have more and more bulk orders in coming up. This stress on the price, we hope in 3-4 months will likely to address it. But presently, of course, there is a stress.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Sarkar. Thank you, Mr. Mondal. Thank you, Mr. Bajaj. Thanks for this nice session. I learned a lot from you guys. Okay. Thank you.
Hello. Can we have a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you so very much, our moderator, Mr. Prateek, and all our distinguished panelists for this highly insightful and thought-provoking discussion on none other than quality certification and food safety. Such a good quality time we spent together. Now, moving ahead, we begin our next session of the day, ladies and gentlemen. Having